The Space Shuttle, Reach for the Stars. The artifact that I have chosen is the Space Shuttle. The Space Shuttle program is an example that there is no limit to our imagination. If we can imagine it, we can make it a reality. The Space Shuttle brought people into space and they came back. The Space Shuttle history. The shuttle program's inception dates back to the mid-1960s. This was basically when the Apollo program was coming to an end. NASA proposed the Shuttle Station program as a way to gain support and funds from the government and government agencies. This proposal was found by Congress to be a backdoor to Mars, and a Mars program will be quite costly. Funding for the Shuttle Station program survived by a very low margin. NASA, in order to gain support from Congress, turned to the Air Force, offering the shuttle as a cheap and reliable way to deliver payloads to low Earth orbit. However, in order to accommodate the Air Force needs, NASA made big changes to the original designs. Nixon publicly came out for the shuttle early in 1972, and in March of that same year, the shuttle configuration was in its final form. I'm just showing here a picture of Nixon and the NASA administrator. This was when Nixon endorsed the Space Shuttle program. In June 1974, the final design of the Space Shuttle that will go into production was released. In 1976, 4 years after President Nixon endorsed the shuttle program, the first shuttle was shown to the public. It was called the Enterprise. The Enterprise was used in the approach and landing test. On August 12, 1977, the Enterprise glides from the Boeing 747 airplane for the first time. This approach and landing test were to ensure that the space shuttle was going to glide out of orbit into the atmosphere and land safely. It took about 16 tests for the space shuttle to get green light for construction. Columbia was the first space shuttle that went to space on April 12, 1981. The mission was called STS-1. The crew was Commander Young and pilot Robert Crippen. And here I'm showing the Space Shuttle Enterprise flying away from the 747 aircraft, and is going to be part of this approach and landing tests. The first shuttle that was built was Columbia. Columbia's first mission started on April 12, 1981 under STS-1. The second shuttle that was built was Challenger. Its first mission started on April 4th, 1983 under STS-6. The third shuttle that was built was Discovery. Discovery's first mission started on August 30th, 1984 under STS-41D. The fourth shuttle that was built was Atlantis. Atlantis' first mission started on October 3rd, 1985 under STS-51J. And the last shuttle that was built was Endeavour. Its first mission started on May 7th, 1992 under STS-49. All these pictures are the pictures of their first mission, each shuttle's first mission. I thought it would be special to show these different pictures of their first time going into space. And I'm showing their different patches for the different missions. The next 3 slides are going to show some historical facts that are worth mentioning as part of this presentation. Sally Ride became the first American woman to go into space when she flew in the Space Shuttle Challenger on June 18, 1983 under STS-7. Guion Stewart Bluford Jr. was the first African American to go into space when he flew in the Space Shuttle Challenger on August 30, 1983 under STS-8. January 28, 1986 marks the destruction day of the Shuttle Challenger due to an O-ring failure in one of the solid rocket boosters under STL-51L. All 7 crew members died. STS-26 was the first mission following the Challenger's disaster, 2.5 years later. Discovery launched on September 29, 1988. STS-26 was declared their return to flight. The Hubble telescope was the world's first space-based optical telescope. It launched on board of Discovery on April 24, 1990, mission STS-31. Eileen Collins became the first American woman to pilot a space shuttle during Discovery's mission STS-63 on February 3, 1995. Eileen Collins also became the first American woman to command a space shuttle mission. Atlantis mission STS-71 launched on June 27, 1995. Together, Atlantis and Mir became the largest combined spacecraft ever in orbit. Mir is a Russian module. December 4, 1998 marks the first shuttle mission to the International Space Station. Endeavour brings the Unity module to during STS-88. January 16, 2003 marks the destruction of the day of the shuttle Columbia during re-entry to Earth's atmosphere, STS-107. All crew members died. On July 8, 2011, the last space shuttle mission launched. STS-135 was the 135th mission. It used the shuttle Atlantis. The Challenger's disaster occurred on January 28, 1986. The specific failure was the destruction of the seals that are intended to prevent hot gases from leaking through the joint during the propeller burn of the solid rocket boosters. Hot gas began pouring through the leak. The external tank collapsed and tore apart, and the resulting flood of liquid oxygen and hydrogen created a huge fireball. The seals did not react well to the low temperatures during the launch. STS-51L. On February 1, 2003, the Columbia disintegrated upon re-entering Earth's atmosphere. During the launch, a piece of foam insulation broke off from the external tank and struck the left wing of the orbiter. Upon re-entering, the damage allowed the hot atmospheric gases to penetrate the heat shield and destroy the internal wing structure, causing the spacecraft to become unstable and break apart. STS-107. Space Shuttle components. Flying deck and crew quarters. Cargo bay. This is the area inside the Space Shuttle where cargo, like satellites and modules, were packed. Payload doors. Elevon controls the shuttle's nose up and down motions and the roll motion. Maneuvering engines, used to place the shuttle into final orbit, to change the shuttle's position from one orbit to another, and to slow the shuttle down for re-entry. Rotor controls the shuttle's left and right motions. Main engines provide approximately 29% of the thrust to lift the shuttle off the pad and into orbit. Delta wings, one of their functions is to make the shuttle glide. Remote control arm, used to move large pieces of equipment in and out of the cargo bay. Nose reaction control engines provide small amounts of thrust. The orbiter, it houses the crew. External tank, it holds the liquid fuel for the main engines. It contains liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Two solid rocket boosters, they hold the solid fuel that provide most of the shuttle's lift during the first 2 minutes of flight. Propellant tanks, they store the fuel for the three main engines. The next couple of slides show some interesting facts about the Space Shuttle. Enjoy! The Space Shuttle, personal importance. I was born in Colombia, South America. I graduated as a chemical engineer. I am a passionate person toward science. The Space Shuttle, and the Space Shuttle program for that matter, demonstrate that everything is possible through science. If we can imagine it, it is possible and we can make it happen. Our dreams are possible if we work toward them. We should always reach for the stars, never lower. I probably saw a couple of shuttle launches when I was living in Colombia, but the news did not cover them as widely as they were covered here in the United States. Once I came to live in the United States in 2001 to Central Florida, I started following the Space Shuttle program closely. I saw a couple of shuttle launches up close and a few from the distance. I always got goosebumps thinking of how far humanity and science had reached by sending people to space and bringing them back to Earth safely. When I had the opportunity, I would tune to the NASA TV channel and would follow some of the spacewalks that were often televised. I do remember that the shuttle crew was awakened by their crew on Earth with one of the astronauts' favorite songs. I love to watch documentaries about the Space Shuttle, and I have been at the Kennedy Space Center complex multiple times. I remember where I was when the Columbia disaster happened. I believe that if I would have been born in the United States, I would have pursued a career that would have later led me to the space program. It was not possible for me, but I believe that it is a real opportunity for my son if he wants it. The shuttle program brought people like us to space. They were talented people that studied and worked hard to reach their potential and pursue their dreams. The Space Shuttle program shows that something amazing not can only happen to special people, but also can happen to real people, just like us. I enjoy watching the rocket launches by SpaceX. They remind me that the space program is still alive. I hope that the NASA gets the funding needed to continue developing the next craft that will lead us up to Mars and beyond. And I hope to see that during my lifetime. The Space Shuttle, wider importance. The Space Shuttle's contributions to science, technology, and humanity are numerous. In aeronautics, the Space Shuttle is the only vehicle designed to get to space as a rocket using powerful boosters, orbit the Earth as a spacecraft, and land as a glider. The shuttle was also the first reusable spacecraft. The Space Shuttle brought to space the Hubble telescope. It takes pictures of planets, stars, and galaxies. The Hubble has seen stars being born and stars die. It has seen galaxies that are millions of miles away. Scientists have learned a lot about space from Hubble pictures. The Space Shuttle brought nations together that once were enemies, like the United States and Russia. When the Space Shuttle Atlantis docked at the Russian space station Mir, it brought these two nations and space programs together in an era of cooperation working toward a common goal. The Space Shuttle also brought men and women to space from different backgrounds, nationalities, and ethnicities. The shuttle made the space dream a possibility to many. The Space Shuttle was fundamental in the building of the International Space Station, ISS. The Space Shuttle was the workhorse of space, and it allowed huge pieces of equipment to be delivered and installed in space. Without the Space Shuttle, the ISS wouldn't exist. The ISS has made it possible for people to live in space and have a continuous presence there. The ISS is a laboratory where research is done that cannot be done anywhere else. This research benefits people. Without the space program, we will not have GPS, accurate weather prediction, solar cells, or the ultraviolet filters in sunglasses and cameras, to name a few. There is also medical research happening in space right now that could save people's lives. It is part of human nature to explore and to know the unknown. The space program allows us to explore and to get to places where we were never before. We want to know what is out there that we cannot see from here. We want to know if there is the possibility of living on another planet. The Earth is going through a lot of changes. It will be good to know if there is a place where humanity can still exist, if life here is not possible anymore. The space program helps us to get there.